Okay, so I wanted to talk about Shadow of War's loot box system, and then a bunch of other news items popped up online that I suddenly noticed, so I want to talk about them as well. But for now, just Shadow of War. So Shadow of War has loot boxes. I think everyone knows that by now, and we all know how this works. You buy the bullshit currency, in this case it's gold, and you trade the gold in against a randomized loot box. You don't know what you're going to get. It gives you an idea, but you're not buying anything specific. So, first thing, you can buy gold, obviously, because if you can't buy gold, you can't buy the chest. So if you hit the triangle button on the pad, it takes you to the PlayStation Store. Please wait while we load in our pointless microtransactions. Here we go. And that's... Why does it say Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor 2? I never noticed that before. Anyway. So the lowest amount of gold you can get is 500 gold, and that's 4 quid. At $3.99, it's 4 quid. You're not fooling anybody when you do that. And we've got 1,000 gold for 8 quid. We've got 2,000 for 16 quid. Then we've got 5,000 for 40 quid. And then we've got 10,000 for 80 quid. I've just noticed, in fact, that there's a bonus add-on. They've actually changed this since I looked at it last. But it's actually 12,000 gold. But regardless, top amount you can buy, 80 quid. 80 fucking quid. So what does that actually get you? What do you get for your gold? I'm just slightly stunned at the sheer prices. Okay, so first chest costs you 240 gold, and you get 3 orc destroyers, at least 1 legendary and 2 epic, and you also get 2 consumables from any of the training orders and spoil of war boosts. Those are like XP boosts or whatnot. You've got another one which is for Olog followers, which is pretty much the same kind of thing, 300 gold. And another one for 260. Now, it is true that if you add 260 to 240, it equates to 500, which is the lowest amount you can buy on the PlayStation Store. But 300 is not easily divisible into 500. If you were to buy that war chest, you would have 200 gold left over. And what can you spend 200 gold on? 860, 425, 1500 silver for that one. Oh, so we could get a gold war chest there. We could get a 200 one there. 600 for that one. There is no 600 on the store. 400, 150, 750 silver. That's silver. The problem is that a lot of these prices force you to effectively buy more gold than you want. I mean, if I want that bundle, for example, the Act 2 starter bundle, it's 860 gold. I can't buy 860. I can buy 500, I can buy 1,000, but I can't buy 860. I'm going to have gold left over. I need to buy more than I need to get what I want. And that's deliberate. It's to make you buy more of the shit. So you have to buy specific combinations of chests to get anywhere with this. Now, I actually have 500 gold from a daily challenge, a weekly challenge, I don't know. So I'm going to buy a couple of these and see what happens. So this is a 240 chest, this is a 260 chest. So I'm going to click on it. And it will leave me 260. So purchase an open chest. Yeah, I bet you were pleased at that purchase, that buy, whatever. I just can't get my tongue straight today. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Waiting, waiting, waiting. Right, so because I'm at the end game, I get a level 36 epic there. Oops, come here. A level 35 epic and a level 35 legendary. Okay. Poison training and... oh, poison training, they're both the same. So you get the 3 orcs and you get the training scenarios. You get the training things which add the special ability to the orc. But here's the thing. Those 2 training orders are consumed when you put them on an orc. And the orcs can be killed in battle. So effectively I just spent 240 gold on temporary consumables. If we go across to the 260 one, might as well buy the other one as well. And now we've got to wait a little bit more for it to decide that I have... oh, it was quicker this time. Oh, you're spending money at our store, we'll speed up then. Or maybe not. Waiting for notification, waiting for garrison. No, I spoke too soon. Here we go. Orc chest. Ooh. I actually went ooh there. I got 2 legendaries and an epic. And boosts spoil of war gain by 100%. I have literally no idea what that means. And another one. So I've got 6 orcs and 2 boosts and 2 training thingies for 500 gold. And bearing in mind that that's 4 quid. But they're all temporary consumables. See, the thing is, if I use the consumables, I lose them. If the orcs die, I lose them. So that's effectively 4 quid that's gone. And I can only assume that if I delete my game save, I'll lose them as well. Good God. No, I'm sorry, but it's not worth it. Not for temporary stuff. If you give me permanent stuff, that's different. If you give me temporary stuff, why the hell would I give you any money for stuff that could just vanish? Now, there is something else I want to show you about this. And it pertains to the attitude of these big companies. You see, a lot of people have been getting really pissed off recently. Normally the general public doesn't get annoyed at microtransactions and loot boxes. They kind of just say, oh well, they're just cosmetics. You don't have to buy them and all that bullshit excuses. I just wanted to point something out to everyone. I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but this is part of the Shadow of War live stream that someone else, Gladiator0022, thank you for that, has very kindly recorded the market segment. And this is how it was during the live stream. The guy stands there. I'm specifically talking about the orc. The guy stands there on screen. If we go to full screen so we can see it. He's standing there. He's standing there. The loot chest is, the war chest, whatever, is selected in a minute when the video does it. And there, he's rubbing his hands together. You know, it's that action. It's like Arkwright saying, ooh, are you going to spend some money? But here's the thing. When we look at the marketplace now, as it exists in the game, you can see the loot chests on screen. You can see him. He's standing there. He's standing there. He's standing there. You click on purchase and he's still standing there. Now, I've tried to find the patch notes for this game and I can't find them. I can't find the patch notes for the game, so I can't confirm. But I'm thinking that they've patched the action out. That, you're going to give me some cash. You're going to give us some more money after you bought the game. They've patched him doing that out of the game. I will swear blind that they do. They know. They fucking know what they're doing. They've deliberately taken the action out to try and make it seem a bit more friendly, or at least less in your face. It's like, we want your money. They've taken it out. Taken it out on purpose. And then there's the other stuff that's been happening online as well. See, this kind of loot box shit and microtransactions have been happening for a while, and by and large, it's only minor reporters in the gaming media that have ever, independents usually, that have ever given a shit about this stuff. And I didn't used to care about this kind of stuff, but that was before it became so sodding in your face, and like every single goddamn game. I mean, how many have we had and how many are we going to have? We got Shadow of War, of course, and then we've got Star Wars Battlefront EA. Forza has recently come out. Finally, we've had one of the bigger groups, when it loads up on screen. Open Critic. Loot boxes in video games will soon get a review flag from Open Critic. We're going to take a stand against loot boxes. We're looking into ways to add business model information to Open Critic. Before now, the big reviewers never used to pay any attention to this stuff. It always used to be the smaller ones that did this. But now at least one of the bigger ones is now starting to pay attention. Open Critic says it's currently testing a number of flags that can be applied to a given game's review page. The simplest ones will clarify whether a game has a loot box system that randomizes your progress in the game, as opposed to an experience-driven or store-driven system that lets players freely choose what they want. In other words, is the stuff you're buying random, or do you know what you're buying? That's one of the things they're looking at. Open Critic would also judge your loot boxes system buying power, clarifying whether a game's randomly generated loot boxes contain anything beyond a cosmetic tweak. Me personally, I don't see the difference there. I mean, cosmetics and actual useful equipment, I suppose you can mention whether there's a difference, but to me, if it's random stuff and you don't know what you're buying, you really shouldn't be trying to buy it. It is literal gambling. The people who say that this is gambling, they're quite right. It is. Other sorting suggestions from Open Critic at this time include whether any loot boxes are exclusively paid, whether the game ever prompts players within the games to buy loot boxes, good, and the estimated total time it takes to 100% a game with no payment. It's one reviewer, but it is a big deal, because it's one of the major outlets. And again, major outlets don't normally pay attention to this kind of stuff. It's just that loot boxes and microtransactions have gotten so egregious over the past few years. They've been around for ages, but they've gotten so egregious recently that everybody is starting to sit up and take notice. And then there's this little interesting bit of news that I didn't know about. And I picked up about it on The Know. So thank you for that, for drawing my attention to it. Loot boxes reported to government. It's not as dramatic as it sounds, unfortunately. And this is the British Parliament, which is in my country, thank you very much. And it's basically, first of all, there's this. This is, for those of you who don't live in the UK and for those of you who don't know about this kind of system, the UK government has a petitions website where you can literally create your own petition and other people can sign it. And the idea is that if a petition gets more than 10,000 signatures, the government has to respond to it. They have to issue a response. They don't have to do anything, they just have to say something, unfortunately. And at 10,000, my tongue is getting in the way of me again. At 100,000 signatures, the petition will be considered for debate in Parliament. That means that Parliament will actually consider it for a debate. In all fairness, it doesn't say that it will be considered for debate. It's just that it will be debated, rather. It's just it will be considered for debate. And this petition presently has going on for 14,000 signatures. So the government has to respond to this. It says waiting for 5 days for a government response. And the second thing, where is it? An MP has submitted 2 questions to Parliament about loot boxes. It is the Cambridge MP, Daniel Zeichner. apologies if I've pronounced that wrong, he submitted 2 questions to the Secretary of State for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. The first one was to ask what steps they were going to take to help protect vulnerable adults and children from illegal gambling, in-game gambling and loot boxes within computer games. That very squarely puts the in-game loot boxes in the same bracket as illegal gambling and gambling. Very deliberately phrasing the question like that. And I agree, randomised loot boxes are gambling. The second question is about the Isle of Man's laws. They already have laws that protect people against being exploited with regards to in-game currency, or as I like to call it, the bullshit currency. The questions were submitted on Friday, October the 7th, for anyone who's interested, and answers generally take about a month to arrive, so we don't expect a response anytime soon. But all of this means that the whole microtransaction and loot box thing, it's starting to gain more mainstream traction. I mean, obviously the mainstream media still haven't picked up on this, but it long ago ceased to be a joke. I mean, asking us to buy the game and then having the game asking us to buy even more stuff. I don't mind microtransactions in something like Warframe, because that game shows you what you're getting. It's the randomised element that pisses me off the most, that rubs me the wrong way, and all this stuff. They're asking you to buy randomised gear. Especially as in Shadow of War, when you can't keep the shit that you buy. I'm presuming if you delete your game save, your stuff is gone. If the orcs die, they're gone. If you put a boost on an orc and they die, the boost is gone with them. But yeah, all of this is starting to get bigger and bigger. And it's about damn time. Mainstream media haven't really picked up on this, but the gaming media, like this Open Critic, they're starting to get in on this. And if they do it, then other places may follow suit. We're going to take a stand following poisonous loot boxes in the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars games. And yeah, I know Star Wars has loot boxes in them as well, but I didn't mention anything in my Let's Look video because I thought to myself, I'll look at it in the game. Because we don't know how much they're going to cost. It shouldn't matter. But yeah. I like this. I like this movement. I like the movement that is happening on this subject. The fact that video games, there are people who are starting to recognise, outside of just gamers necessarily, the people outside gamers are starting to recognise that gambling is an element in these games. And technically they're not gambling. The ESRB, where is it? The ESRB, for example, has said that it's not technically gambling because you're always getting something. Because apparently gambling is only gambling if you give someone your money and there's a chance you might not get something back. Well, someone down here called Voltorn Elder, again I apologise if I pronounced the name wrong, a user, and he said, wait, so if loot boxes aren't gambling because you always get something, does that mean gambling with slot machines can be made completely legal for kids if the machine always rewards, let's say, a small pebble? And that way you are always rewarded with something, thus it is no longer gambling? It's a terrible example, I know. Well, I mean, you could make that example not terrible by simply substituting the small pebble for 1 penny. If you give me 1 penny back, then I'm getting something, and according to the ESRB, who have said that you're technically getting something, then yeah, technically that's no longer gambling. Now, I sympathise with the ESRB's position, because the ESRB is a group that enforces law, and law enforcement is separate from law creation. It's Parliament that makes the laws. It's the ESRB's job to enforce those laws, and those two groups are kept deliberately separate, so the people who enforce the laws can't make them. But yeah, I don't expect the UK government to do anything, in all honesty. I really don't. Because they've got... God, excuse me. They've got far bigger problems to solve than worrying about gambling in video games. But it would be nice to hear them say something, at least recognise that this is a problem that got way out of hand ages ago. And more people are starting to notice it, mainly because it's in every sodding thing nowadays, is microtransactions. It would be nice, at least, to have the recognition. So yeah, that's my talk over with. I don't like loot boxes, randomised loot boxes. I don't have a problem with microtransactions if they're in a free-to-play game, as long as I know what I'm getting, like in Warframe or DC Universe. Those are microtransactions done right, especially in Warframe. Holy shit, the Warframe economy is awesome. But it's just not on in a full-price game. Okay, rant over. I wasn't that mad, but yeah, video over.